No, my name is Trevor Froling, and I'm with CommonGround Insurance Group. I'm based out of Eastern Illinois. I write primarily in the Midwest, so I cover Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and Missouri. And I work with a myriad of insurance companies and products. But this morning, I want to talk about this one because I'm especially excited about it. Just because from last year to this year, I had such good success with my growers and getting a return on investment and then borrowing power with their banks. Unlike some other policies that go up to 95% that you may be aware of that are based on county or basically partnering with county where you get paid the following summer in June. This policy will pay you right away in the fall. So when you do your RP claims, this policy as an add-on will pay right alongside that. So you should get the check within a week of your revenue protection check. But yeah, let's do it. So what is band revenue protection? It is a private product that allows you to take your individual guarantee per farm, 5% on the multi-peril to 95%. And it is a true buy-up version of the RP. There is no penalties. It's treated exactly like if your multi-peril insurance went to 95%. You get the higher of the spring and fall price. Now, when you buy this policy, there is risk on the insurance company, obviously. So they require you to buy some level of multi-peril. A 70% RP policy is required when buying this policy. Now it pays in the fall right along with the RP. Claims that I had this previous season, I'd say the average turnaround between a revenue protection indemnity and the band indemnity was right around a week. So when you get your check for your RP claim, you can expect that this policy will pay pretty to that timeline. Now, unlike programs, you're probably familiar with ECO, SCO, margin protection, old grip, ARP. They pay the following summer, right? We don't know any of the numbers until the day they're released. Banks really can't give you any liability on these policies just for the fact that they don't know what the county yields are going to be, right? What I like about this policy is that it's on your farm, on your acres, and you and I, when we sit down and work through production, we control, what numbers are turned in and have a really good idea right away what our claims are going to be. Now, my favorite version of this insurance is the true RP coverage. Now, there's versions of this where you can only take the spring price. It's called RP limited. You can only do yield. I'm not a big fan of these policies, and the majority of mine last year, the payments were on the price drop on corn. My advice would be to take it as true RP coverage on the buy up if we're focusing especially on return on your dollars, because that's where I really saw it in 2025. Now, you do get to hire the spring and fall price, and that's 95% coverage. It's all based on the same numbers as your RP in the spring, right? So right now we're in our discovery period for spring price. That'll be set. There's 20 different days in February where they're getting the average of that number. I'll go over the running numbers a little later in the presentation. We're betting against the fall price in October on December corn futures and November bean futures. So it works just like your RP in that regard. Now you can make this policy cheaper or more expensive by putting in a bottom on price decline. So if you said to me, well, Trevor, I don't think soybeans can go under $10 in the fall. I want to make the policy cheaper. I'm going to put a cap on how much the price of beans can decline on the policy and totally focus on yield or just a percentage of that. I'll go over how that works. But essentially, you can make your return on your money better by putting a bottom on the amount that the price can drop on that fall discovery price, that actual fall price, right? So in that range is from 100 to 50%. And essentially what that means, instead of getting $1 for dollar, you can get 50 cents for every dollar you're supposed to get. So it cuts your premium in half. It does give you a high trigger on your insurance, but if you're going to get a claim, it's going to be 50 cents of what it was supposed to be. right? And what I like about this is a person that says, well, I've never done anything like this before. I don't know if I want to pull my premium by buying this and seeing if it works. I'm going to just stick my toe in, right, before I go out on this policy. You can do a percent, right? You don't have to go all out on it. You can pull county crop, only 50% liability to cut your premium way back. So your risk premium side compared to what you get back isn't too exposed. Now, the policy is available in enterprise unit only, and it will cover 95% of your yield across the farm per county crop on your APH or POS per unit on soybeans with MyYield endorsement. Now, I'm going to talk about this at the very end, but there is an endorsement with the ban policy where instead of using your actual APH, you can buy up bushels only on soybeans. So for me, for example, I quoted it for myself this morning. My APH on soybeans in Iroquois County is 65 bushel. Well, I can bump that up to, let's say, 67 bushel, right? I can capture two more bushel because I've had that are higher than my APH, right? That's my average. But I can bump it up using the endorsement to say, okay, now instead of 95% of 65, I'm going to get 95% of 67. And the insurance is based on that. So that's a pretty cool endorsement too. If you want to bump your yield number up to be able to get that higher level of coverage. All acres per county and crop must be harvested before the indemnity can be paid. So it's enterprise units, right? So the only situation where I would say the RP pays a lot earlier than this is when you have 85% optional units on your RP, but you're buying this buy up on enterprise units because obviously you can get a claim on your optional units a lot faster than you can on enterprise because you can have a farm done in September, right? But not finish corn in the county till November. Well, in the enterprise, we got to wait till the very end. But on optional units, you can go real early, at the end of October when that price is set, when you can get a claim in. So now I wanted to give you guys kind of an idea of a reference for the changes in prices this year. Because of Trump's big, beautiful bill, there's been a lot of added subsidies on crop insurance. So 85% enterprise units, the added subsidy this year went up to, 56% as the government's kicking in money on this policy. So this morning I quoted the average price right now in February is 457, our moving average. The volatility is real low. Corn's been real choppy the last 3 months. And then I use my individual APH of 200 bushel in Iroquois County on 100 acres, right? So that policy at 85% enterprise units would cost me $15.52. Now, if I went to optional units every, per farm basis, it cost me about double. It would cost me $27.76 to do that. So using those numbers, to give you an idea, the break even on the RP on enterprise units, if every farm was 200 bushel, that was my weighted average. At 85% to get my money back, to be return on my money, I'd have to be under $749 gross per unit average to be net money on my crop insurance or on enterprise to even be plus money on it. Now, 85% sounds like a big number, but when you break it down at your APH, so if I had a 200 bushel average crop and I bought 85% enterprise, which is the highest level the government's going to, let you subsidize and buy, corn on the fall price on the board, this isn't cash, on the board has to be $3.75 to be at break even. So that's not to be that's in a claim, right? But once you take your premium out, if the fall price is 375 or higher, you're still net money loss on your crop insurance, on your multi-peril. So as we sit today, we're at 457. That price would have to drop. It's like 83 cents at my APH to have any kind of claim on my crop insurance. Now I don't know about you guys, but if the fall price on the board is 375 in the fall and I don't get any crop insurance money on it, and let's be honest, 200 bushel APH for me, it's kind of low compared to my last 3-4 years. I mean, we've averaged probably 220, 225 in Iroquois County for us on the farm. Yeah, I mean the price at 375 per break even, 85% enterprise is almost it's almost a joke, right? It's very, very hard to collect on that policy. Now, what the government's done is they've added in these county policies, ECO and SCO. So if we see in the middle of the screen, we got the same quotes, ECO and SCO. You can buy up to 86% on the SCO. You can do that for 52 cents an acre. Well, that's a good deal, right? Now, on the ECO, it goes from 95 to 86, but it's all county, it's not individual. It costs you another $7.55. So what they're telling you is for $8 an acre, we'll take your county coverage from, 95 down to 86 to 85. So 95 to 85, the same coverage as this BRP. It'll cost you $8 an acre to do it. The problem is it's county insurance. We have no idea what that number is going to be. It's based on county yield. It's not on your farm. And you don't get paid on it if there is a claim until June of the following year. So it is a good deal, incentivizing us to buy what us to buy, which is county insurance, right? Because there's no fraud in county insurance. They want if it was up to them, everybody would just buy county insurance. But the problem is a bank count on it. Us as farmers really count on it because I don't know about you guys, I really don't trust the numbers at this point. I mean, every year a number comes out and I'm like, wow, where'd that number come from? 10 to 15 bushel off of what my average person I worked with in the county is. How did they come to that number? Who knows? Right? I mean, that's the problem for me. I just don't have a lot of confidence in those numbers. Now, on the opposite side, here's the soybeans. I'll go through it real quick. Our running average on the spring price right now is $10.88. The same policy on the bean side would be $7 for the 85 enterprise. Really doesn't make sense not to be optional at this point on beans. They're only charging you $11 to buy 85% optional. So $4 difference between enterprise. It's to me, it's a no-brainer to make that. But on the county side, it's basically $5.50 to take your county coverage from 95 down to 85. Now, I'm not knocking ECO and SCO. It's good value for your money, but can you count on it in risk management? Is my question. I mean, you're paying, it's additional money out, right? For a guy that was only buying RP, they have made it extremely cheap. But if you still get nothing back, you're basically just more out to get nothing back. Now, if it hits, it's a great return on investment. I just, the average people, I mean, me in Illinois, central Illinois, county policies, especially the ECO, you haven't got your money back around me in the last, probably since 2019, right? It was the last year it had return on its money. So to me, going through the numbers, I mean, the break even on the RP is $594 at a 65 bushel APH. Not too bad until you look at what the price would have to be at APH to collect it on the 85%. I mean, the board price would have to be $9.14 to be net money on 85% enterprise units. I mean, that is a low number. We haven't had a 914 price in a long time. And now I'm going to show you what historically prices have done. So this is a chart here. I love this chart. Anybody that's in here or has had a meeting with me, you've probably seen this chart. I am a creature that likes to study trends and patterns. And what this shows you is our fall price for our fall insurance products, spring price for spring crop insurance, and our harvest fall price. And on the left side, we have corn. Right side, we have soybeans. Well, this is a 20-year chart. And what's highlighted is the high between the prior fall, the spring price, and the harvest price of that current year, right? So we have, 20 different years here. And I went through and done the math for you so to make it easy. So in corn, 18 of the last 20 years, the price has dropped over 5% to the fall price, right? So it was either higher in the fall, so you captured that higher price, or it was 5% lower. There's not very many years where it's, a 457 spring price and then a 450 fall price, right? There's a lot of variance in that price. Now on soybeans, there's a little bit less variance. 14 of the last 20 years, we've had either a 5% price drop or a higher fall price. Now, when I say 5%, you go, well, 5% is pretty significant. Maybe. Well, when we're talking 85%, you got to have a 15% swing at APH to be in the money. Now, this policy I'm going to show you, a 5% price drop, buying the BRP, you're essentially at 100% coverage, right? Because you're getting 5% of your own. So if the price drops from 5% from the spring to the fall, you are essentially at 100% coverage. So if you have any kind of yield problem, you're already in the money on the band policy. And if any of you haven't seen this prior and haven't worked with me where I handed this out, shoot me a text or a email after this, and I'll make sure you. Now, finally, here's the meat and potatoes of the presentation, right? This is a live quote. I did this at, this morning, 7:30 this morning. So this is real numbers. This is my version of what I think the best value is on the band policy. So what we have here is 95% coverage on a 200 bushel APH, the same numbers I was using for the RP quoter. We have a 95-85, so it's the full band of coverage on 100 acres, 100% share, and then I'm taking 50% of the liability, right? So what I'm doing is I'm saying I want 50 cents on the dollar in a claim because you have a lot more money in the RP and the hail on corn on crop insurance. I want this to be a net positive for anybody that buys it. So for me, I would rather have a lower liability limit. If it does pay, I want to pay the rest of my crop insurance. I don't want to have a crop insurance bill. I had people that bought this last year that only collected on the band because the price drop from 470 to 422 in the fall. They had no yield loss, but this policy paid for the rest of their crop insurance. So they didn't have a bill in. But essentially the way this works is a premium on this of $19.76 and the most we can get back is $46 an acre, right? So you're spending 19 to potentially get 46 back. You have 50% liability, but what I like on this compared to the RP is my break even on this at my APH is $4.14, right? So at 457, if that fall price goes down to 414, which is actually possible, right? I could see that happening. I will get my money back for this policy. Now, it goes all the way down to a price of 387. If it gets down to 387, you've maxed out the policy and it pays you back $46 an acre. And that's not considering any yield drop, right? So I like this policy just because if there is a problem, it's a high trigger, you get paid back faster. And this is the policy that usually on a year-to-year basis, I can get money back in the farmer's pocket because it has the higher trigger. This policy will max out before an RP policy pays you $1 back, which is a big deal. Now, here is the soybean side, and the numbers on this I really like. I could see a scenario. I'm really concerned about going into this year's, planted acres. I'm worried about soybeans. We've had a really nice rally here the last 2 weeks in old crop. New crop, has seen some benefit of it. It's sitting right around $10.95, $11 on the November contract today. The problem I foresee is I've been talking to these guys. All these guys are rotating crops every year. The problem is fertilizer prices and soybean acres were already low going into next year, and these banks are getting tighter. Could I see a scenario where we're extremely heavy soybean acres in 26? I think it's possible. I mean, you look at the board price, you look at the math for soybeans, it looks better than corn does right now, right on paper. So for me, could I see that big switch from corn acres to bean acres? I could. And that's where a policy like this would really shine. So I did the opposite on this than I did on the corn. I went full boat. I did 100% share, 100% liability. So I'm getting a dollar for dollar back if there's a claim. The way that would work is it would cost $27 an acre to have this. The difference is you're going to get $71 an acre back before an RP policy would even trigger, and the return on that is 2.1. The break even on this policy at current numbers would be $9.90 on the fall price. Now, to me, this would be a good investment just for the fact that I said I'm really worried about bean acres. There are some positives right now. You do get the higher of the spring and fall price. So even if we do lock in, let's say around $11 is our spring price. Well, if there is a problem anywhere in the country and beans go to $12, you're going to capture that $12. Now all of a sudden you got 95% yield at $12 if the price goes up, right? So to me, I really like this policy. I've sold a lot of it last year. I had a lot of guys get, more than their money back on it. It's a really good option for people that, especially if you ever have collected on RP or consistently collect on RP, you got to look at this really hard because your return on your money is really good. It bumps up the liability number. You can take this to any bank and say, listen, guys, I'm getting paid back right away in the fall. This should help with my borrowing power. I really like this policy. Now, here's the final version. So there's a MyYield endorsement that we can put with this policy. And what it does is, as I described at the beginning, it bumps up how many bushels you're guaranteeing. So on my scenario, I have 65 bushel APH, but I've produced a lot higher. Let's say 70 bushels is the highest I've produced. Well, if I'm sitting there going, I want to make sure that I get my money back, right? And if I don't get my money back, I want to have a really good year crop wise. What I did in this scenario is I took my EPH and I added 2 bushel per farm to every farm. So now all of a sudden, instead of having 95% of 65 bushel, I have 95% of 67 bushel. So I added 2 bushel on top. My trigger on that goes a lot higher, but now all of a sudden my break even on this policy for soybeans is $657. Now, my gross on soybeans last year wasn't $657. So if I can lock that in going into 26, I don't know, it looks pretty good. Now, at a 60 bushel yield, that is my break even. So anything producing over 60, I'm not net money back. Now, I'm in a claim, but it hasn't paid for the policy. Anything under 60 or under, I'm net money on this policy. Where all of a sudden, I took the RP where it has to be almost under $9 to be net money. On this policy, if my beans are under 60 bushel at a 1088 price this fall, I'm in the money on this policy. Now the liability on this is 2-to-1. This costs $18 to do this. You can only get $37 back. It's a 2-to-1 liability. Where this would really fit somebody if they're kind of in that weird mode where, well, every year it just seems I can't get my yield bumped up. It's about the same every year the last 3-4 years. I want to bump up that yield number just enough to where I feel like I can get my money back. We can do that, right? You're giving up a little bit return on your investment. It just gives you a higher likelihood of getting money back because your trigger is higher, is essentially how that works. Now, we went through a lot of numbers, a lot of information, but the thing we have to remember, it's such a simple policy. The reality of it is you're basically just getting a buy up on your RP policy is all it is. If you're used to buying 85% RP, this is a buy up of 10% up to 95% on your individual farms, on enterprise units, and you can do it per county, per crop. That's the key to it. And I can quote anybody in any of those states I mentioned, and I can go through and give you guys numbers on what it looks like on your farm. Now, like I said, I wanted to keep this short and sweet. That is the meat and potatoes of it. Anybody listening to this that's never seen it is going to have questions. I get it. You guys can reach out to me. I'm open to questions. I'm going to open it up for questions right now. Silas is here probably watching and listening to what's going on. But this is my contact information too. So I'm going to open it up for questions. But if anybody wants to ask me specifically or have me run quotes for them, this would be the best way to do it. Either call my cell phone or just shoot me an email. Silas, are you there?
I am here. Yeah, if anyone has a question right now, feel free to unmute yourself, um, or just throw it in the chat. And like Trevor said, if not, he is happy to follow up. So his contact information is right there on the screen. And everyone will receive a copy of this presentation.
And I really appreciate, I mean, we're all busy, right? I appreciate any of you guys taking the time to jump on here and go through this with me. I work primarily with Hudson Crop, and what I really like about these guys is they listen to the farmers, they listen to the agents. I've been working on them for probably 3, 4 years to have this policy come out and give people options, to help with borrowing power, to help with liability, help get money back in your pockets. Um, and that's the key for me. It's all return on your money, right? And if it doesn't pay you, I want you to have a great year regardless because you had great yields and great prices. Silas, do you have anything coming in regards to questions?
I've got no questions, so yeah, we can wrap it up and
I'm just Silas. I'm just that good. That's why.
well explained. Okay, well, yeah,
That's
thanks,
me.
Trevor. We will get a copy of this recording put on YouTube and sent to everyone for reference.
You guys, and yeah, reach out to me if you have any questions. And I hope you guys all have a great day and a great spring. Thank you.